we took our pork loin, right? We trimmed it, and then what do we do with it? What? No. What? Do you? No, next week. Last week. Yes, last week. What did we do with this? We didn't roll it. What are you talking about rolled? Yes, we don't call it a wet brine. There's a brine, which is also called a wet cure. So no rolling. Booyah roll, mayo roll. Yo mayo roll, mayo. So you see it's not rolled, right? So we brined it, right? Then I took it out. I just rinsed it with cold water, okay? And then I trussed it. Okay, this is called trussing. T-R-U-S-S. Truss. That means to tie things, okay? I don't know why we can't just call it tying. You know, you tie your shoes, you tie a bow on a package, but when it comes to meat, should we call it tying? No, 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 no. Let's not call it tying. That would make too much sense. Let's just call it trussing. Yes. Totally different than tying, except it's exactly the same as tying. So to do that, I've got one extra here. I just show you guys, and I also remember that we left a little bit of fat on, right? Because when we slice this, remember that pork has very little what? Marbling, also known as intramuscular fat, right? So I left a little bit of fat on the outside, so that when we slice it and eat it, there's still some fat when you eat it, right? Also, it's nice and dry now, kind of sticky on the outside. What do we call that? Begins with a P. What? Well, if you can not look at your book and tell me, that would be pellicle. Yes. Pellicle. Pellicle is the slightly dry, sticky skin before we smoke something. It's important that you develop a pellicle, because if you just took this from the brine and put it straight into the smoker, the smoke would go up and it would connect to the water and it would just drip off. Okay? It doesn't really go into the meat. Okay? The water keeps it protected. So we develop a pellicle so that when we smoke it, the smoke can stick to the actual meat and penetrate the meat. Okay? So that's called pellicle. Remember that, because it is on your test. Okay? Think of the bird like a pelican, right? Okay? Now you can see I'm not going to be cutting my finger today. No more. Yeah, I don't know why they would put the sharpest. It's like a razor blade in there. Like I could use it to shave my beard. Like, hey, let's put that inside of this. Let's put it hidden inside of this roll of string, where people totally assume that there's going to be a super sharp piece of metal waiting for them. But they're not going to. Anyways, this isn't exactly the most professional setup, right? But it's MCOOT, so it works, right? You can actually buy a lot of butcher shops, professional butcheries and butcher shops and hotels that have large-scale butcher operations. Some hotels will have a very big room, it's basically a fridge that people work in cutting meat and cutting fish all day, okay? And it usually stays around 5 or 6 degrees Celsius, very cold. Okay, so if you're going to be in that department, you need to learn how to work in the cold. The reason being because they're working with meat and fish all day, they have to keep it cold, right? Anyways, you can buy professional actual hangers for this. It's like a large metal rod that hooks onto things. It can open and close. It's got nice ball bearings in it. It's really professional. But of course we don't have that. But what I do have is a coat hanger. And sometimes you got to make do with what you have, right? So I'm just going to take my string and I'm just going to tie a nice piece around the end here. And the reason we want to tie this before we smoke it is because we're hot smoking it, right? Today we're going to hot smoke this pork. And what can happen when you hot smoke, or when you apply heat to meat, what could happen to this piece of meat if we apply heat to it? The shape. It'll kind of bend, right? And when you're trying to slice this on a meat slicer, if it's like a horseshoe, it's impossible, right? You have to do like the matrix and stuff. It's just not going to work, right? So we want to truss this so when it cooks, it keeps a nice straight shape, okay? So anyways, I'm just going to go and cut off a big enough piece of string here. Normally these things really annoy me because they're just like hanging, you know, like you do something, it's like boom. But this is the one time I'm glad it was here. I tried to hang this on here and I thought, probably not a good idea. The whole thing would probably fall and who knows. So I'm just gonna loop my loop my string around my pork here, pull it tight. Okay, and then again, loop it around. Pull it tight, flip it over, and then just go underneath the string here. You don't need to go under every single one. Every other one or two is fine, okay? You can go under every one if you'd like, but it's not super necessary. And then I'll just tie it off here in a knot. Then you could even go back. And if you want, you don't have to, but you can go also along the sides, okay? And that will help keep the whole pork loin in a much nicer shape. Again, under every other rope section is fine. And this can also be cold smoked, okay? So you can either hot smoke it or cold smoke it. Either one would be fine. I prefer to hot smoke this one just for the color and so that it's got a slightly different texture, more like a ham. Okay, and then once you get all the way around to the side, you can just tie it up again, back where you started. Again, into another knot. You can also use netting for this. So netting is basically, you know, sometimes when you hurt yourself, that you get the white net that you put on like a bandage. They basically have that. It's made from a similar fabric as this, except it's slightly elastic. You know, jeans, you can get some jeans that are regular jeans, and then some jeans you get that are like skin tight, right? And you're like, how do you even get those jeans on? That's what I'm always wondering. Then I realized they're elastic. And so you can put an elastic net over this as well, instead of tying it, okay? The netting, with the elastic net, is much more expensive. Right? Obviously, it's pre-made, it's manufactured, right? String is cheap, okay? So there you go, just a nice trussed pork, okay? Are you okay there, Lenny? Yeah. Wait, you're not Lenny. I always forget your names. All right, so I'm gonna put this into the combination oven here. This is really really, really good for doing this kind of pork, because what I want to do is smoke it at 74 degrees Celsius until it reaches an internal temperature of 70 degrees Celsius, okay? And so this is a really nice oven to do that with because it's precise, okay? So I load that in. I've also got some gas here. And I've got some wood chips, right? Soaked wood chips. This is hickory. I think this is hickory. Yes, this is hickory, H-I-C-K-O-R-Y, hickory, which is one of the more common wood chips used for smoking because it's fairly cheap to produce, hickory trees. So now I'm just going to take my All right, and we'll let that start to slowly smoke, okay? That'll take about 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours under smoke to reach the minimum internal temperature. Now, moving on, I'm just gonna move this out of the way. So you guys remember 4 weeks ago, we took our ribeye, right? We put it into the dry ager. So you can see there's a very big difference, right? Between what we started with, which is this. So I'll just get this out of the bag for you. Was there another ribeye? What happened to the ribeye you guys got? No. This is the one I pulled out of the freezer. You got one that was frozen, right? And you put it in the freezer? And where did that go? Huh? Where did it go? No. I pulled this out days ago. A few days ago I pulled this out. Really? So it's not in the freezer? Yes, I know. And then where did it go? Okay, so where is it now? Okay, well, we're going to need that, but we can get it in a little bit. First, we'll get this started. It's fine. Oh, where are you going? Huh? Oh, you know the toilet's that way. Okay. So you can see there's a fairly big difference, right, between the beef that we aged and the beef that we did not age, correct? Yes. The main difference you can see probably is the color, yeah? But also the size, right? There's a very big difference now in size, right? Comparatively, if you put these side by side, if you put those side by side, right? What do you think in terms of loss? How much do you think? How much weight loss do you think there is there? At least 30%, yeah, probably 25 to 30%. And that's just in water loss, right? We haven't actually even started to trim the outside off yet, right? Which is, again, increase our loss, okay? So we're going to start to trim this away. The end trimming pieces, they're garbage, yeah? You cannot use them for anything, okay? So you don't use them for stock, you don't use them for anything. Grinding for hamburgers, nothing. So then now you can see the inside, right? There's a lot of discoloration, right? Oxidization, which is fine, it's not a big deal, right? So what's happening inside is we're evaporating moisture, right? Water. Remember that most animals like us, cows, whatever, we're about 60 to 65% water, okay? Depending on sort of variables throughout the day. If you wake up and drink a ton of water, you'll be higher in water percentage than later in the day if you don't drink any water all day, right? But let's just assume that you're around 60 to 65% water. So as this sits in the dry age room, we're just evaporating water straight out of the meat, right? And so what that does is concentrates what?
Taste.
Huh?
Taste.
Taste, yes. Let's assume that beef is a flavor, right? Although it's kind of a weird beef flavor. So if we assume, or if we just sort of say that beef is a flavor, then we're concentrating that beefy flavor, that strong, sort of nice beef taste, okay? But there's a few other things happening inside. So I'm just going to trim this down a little bit first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what's actually going on. And you really want to trim away any of the dark, really dark brown or dry pieces off of this. Okay, you do not want to serve that. So like I said, we just make sure that you get all these little bits of dark, dry meat out of there. So that's what we're left with. So now if we go back and do another side-by-side comparison, right? Now let's now let's take a look. About 50%, yeah. So when you're at a restaurant and you see on a menu dry aged beef, right? Now you'll have a better understanding of why the cost is the way it is, right? Unfortunately, a lot of consumers, they don't really understand what's happening or why the cost is the way it is. And so it's a matter of education, right? Remember that part of owning a restaurant, and when I say a restaurant, I don't necessarily mean like McDonald's. Not that there's anything wrong with owning McDonald's, right? You can make a lot of money running McDonald's restaurants, right? Obviously, look at the McDonald's company, right? They made tons of cash, right? But part of owning a full-serve restaurant or a standalone restaurant is educating consumers on eating patterns, okay? So that's our cleaned ribeye steak, all right? Now the other thing when we're talking about steaks and eating steak, very common in Taiwan, right, is like they call it like hot steak, right? You guys know the metal plate, right? It's usually got noodles, got a piece of steak so thin, it was probably, they cut it with like a laser, okay? Because no man can cut that thin. And the steak, they don't even have to cook it, they just like, right? And it's well done, right? It's so thin that as soon as it touches the air, it almost starts to evaporate, okay? And you have to breathe it in like, that was delicious, right? So there's a few ways you can cut steak, right? I always opt for a thicker steak, okay? It's always better. Now you might wonder, well, but then if you cut a thicker steak, the cost will be too high. But there's ways around that. There's ways around that, and I won't show you this one because this is too valuable to do that to. But if I were to take this steak, okay, this ribeye, which is just fresh, if I were to take this and cut a very thin, maybe 1 centimeter or half a centimeter, were you just like hanging out outside? You guys are so weird. If I were to cut this, right, just very, very thin, right, maybe like that. I'm not going to do it because it's a waste of meat, right? If you're going to cut a steak, you should be a vegetarian, okay? If this is your idea of a steak, you should just be a vegan or let Lenny drive you around in his car for a day, and then you'll be dead. No, I'm just joking. I mean, not about you driving. Yeah, that's a bad idea. I'm still going to write Tsai Ing-wen and say, listen, this, you know. But let's just assume that I cut a very thin steak from there, okay? That would probably be around 200 grams, okay? Maybe 250 grams, okay? Something like that, okay? About a centimeter, a little less than a centimeter, okay? The kind of steak that you would get at the hot steak type place, right? However, to me, that's a total waste, okay? What I would rather do is cut at least twice as thick and then cut it in half, right? So that if you were to serve this in a restaurant, I've done this many, many times. When I first took over, you guys know the Hotel 1, right? Yeah, now it's gone, right? But when I first took over that hotel, we changed the top floor restaurant from a modern Chinese, which I told them was a bad idea because consumers won't understand it. And then, sure enough, a year later, they were like, yeah, this isn't working. I was like, yeah, I kind of told you that a year ago. They wanted to do like a high-end steakhouse. And so we started doing all these recipe testing and costing and everything. And they were saying, oh, they wanted like a nice big steak. And I said, yeah, but your cost is going to be too high and the steak is too thin. It's not really like a steakhouse, you know? When you go to a high-end steakhouse, the steaks are always big, right? I said, if we cut it thicker and then half, then you can still serve a customer a thick steak. It's just shorter, right? And they said, oh, then it looks small on the plate. I said, you can't really have everything. You have to choose what's important. Either having a good quality steak and then filling out the plate with other side dishes, or have a steak this big and this thin, but poor quality, right? And anyways, we ended up doing what I said and cutting it thicker and da-da-da-da. But if you're gonna cut a steak, always go for thicker, okay? If you're gonna if you're going to have a steak, right, if you're going to go buy one from the market or something, or a butcher, right, just spend the extra to have a thicker steak, because in the end, it'll be much, much more enjoyable to eat, and the cooking process is better, okay? When you have a steak that's this thin, there's no real rare, medium, well done. It's just cooked. Doesn't necessarily have to be well done, but it's just cooked. Okay, that's it. There's no, how do you want your steak done, right? When you go to hot steak, they don't ask you that, right? They just say, how do you want your egg cooked? That's about it, right? If you go to a place that serves steak and the only thing they're asking you is how you want your egg cooked, you're in the wrong place for beef, okay? At any rate, so as I mentioned, when you cook or when you cut steak, it's always advisable to have a slightly thicker piece, okay? And so something about this is about as thin as you want to go, okay? I even like them to be a little bit thicker, okay? So we'll cut the next few a little bit thicker. And that's smelling really good. And you guys can come up and take a look if you want as well. And I can explain a few things to you. So you guys can also smell it, right? So you guys are okay, to touch it. I'm not worried about it. We're going to cook it, right? So if you guys want, you can just pick it up. You can also feel the texture, right?
Kind of solid.
Sorry?
It's kind of hard.
It's hard, yeah. It's more firm, yeah. Well, why is that?
Because the wet water.
We lost the water, right? So if you look at this one, if you feel this one, it's fairly squishy, right?
Yes.
And then if you look at this one, it's fairly firm, right? See how it just stays? My finger stays in there like that? And this one, you push it, kind of starts to spring back a bit, right? So you'll notice first is a big difference in color, right? So the difference in color, maybe you guys can just move a little bit so my little friend Jay can see there. My little friend Jay. So the first thing you're going to notice for sure right away is the color. Okay, the texture is also, you can feel it, it's much more dense, more firm, okay? And then even if you just smell the two, this one has a very, almost like no smell. It's like odorless cows, if there is such a thing. There isn't, cows stink, right? But if you smell this has a really strong, sort of rich beef smell, okay? So you guys are more than welcome to take a smell of this. Smell that as well, okay? Go ahead, I can't smell it for you. Okay, you'll notice a much, don't stick your nose in the beef. Smell it, don't taste it with your nose. But you'll notice it's got a much richer, much stronger beef smell, okay? Much more concentrated, okay? But then when you smell this basically has no smell. You'll have a very light smell, slightly beefy, but really not too much, okay? Whereas this steak, the aged steak, will have a very concentrated smell. Noticeably different, okay? You should smell the difference, yeah? Don't smell one and not the other. Can you see this has like almost no smell, yeah? It smells a little bit like beef, but not really too much. But then once you smell this, it's vastly different, okay? Do you smell anything there? Not really, right? Pick it up and really smell it, you know? Can you smell something? Go on. Smell it. You smell a difference between this and this? This has a very strong odor, right? But not a bad odor, not like a moldy or rotten odor. Just a very strong, beefy smell to it. Why am I missing? Oh, okay. I was like, I'm missing a steak. Like, don't take it with you. Just smell it and then put it back. So, do you get any smell from that? Not really, right? But do you smell this?
Like a fridge.
Like a fridge. What kind of fridge smells like that? If your fridge smells like that, you need to clean it more often. Well, there's no blood in there. But this has just a rich, it's almost like the difference between smelling like suede and leather. Suede has like a very light smell and leather has a very strong smell, right? Okay. So you guys all smelled that, right? Great. Another thing I should tell you guys real quick as well. So you see this, the liquid on this in the pan here, okay? Right, this? No, right, it's not blood, right? Sorry? It's water, right? So when people order steak and they say, I don't want any blood, they don't know what they're talking about, okay? Quite often you see people, they want to, you know, they want to have face, right? They want to appear to know what they're talking about. And unfortunately, they don't. So what that is why is the water red? Yes, thank you. There's something in your blood that makes it red, right? It's called hemoglobin. So what happens is once they kill an animal, okay, let's use beef particularly. Has anyone here ever been to a slaughterhouse? Really? Maybe we can try to organize a field trip to go to a slaughterhouse. It's interesting. It's a little, but it's if you, I mean, who here doesn't eat beef? Oh shit. You do eat beef. Oh, okay. Who does not? Who does not eat beef? Everybody, right? Everybody in this room? Yeah? So I mean, if you eat beef but have never seen it being killed or never been to a slaughterhouse, like never seen the process, it's kind of a good thing to do, okay? Just to understand how it goes from being a live cow, right, to being, how does it go from moo moo to, right? Because there's a process, right? And understanding the food supply chain, right, from production to consumption is important, especially nowadays. And I'll tell you another reason why it's important to understand the food chain, the food supply chain, not the food chain like humans, bears, fish, you know, not that food chain, but the food supply chain is because now, right, we're in a global pandemic, right? And food supply is at risk, okay? It probably won't happen, but you never know, okay? The biggest pork production facility in the world just closed, okay? So you might think, well, what does that mean for Taiwan, right? Where do you think Taiwan gets most of its pork from? Imports. U.S. is one of the bigger ones, but South America, U.S. changes depending on the supply and demand. If they close, well, you don't have enough, right? Taiwan, think about the geography or geology of Taiwan, right? Taiwan is mostly volcanic, right? You know a volcano? Right? So most of the land from in Taiwan is not really habitable for growing crops, right? It's not arable. So the reason they have to import a lot of products here is because the population to agricultural space is fairly out of whack, right? Taiwan's got a fairly high population for the size of country it is, right? It's a very small country, right? So their population density is fairly high, but their arid land and agricultural resources are fairly low. And because of that, they have to import almost all of the beef in Taiwan is imported, right? There's a few small farms in Taiwan that grow beef, right? Really nice beef, but it's very expensive, right? The Taiwan beef. There's really good beef here. I think they call it like the yellow cow or yellow beef or something like that. I can't remember, they have a name for it. But they have really good products here, it's just they don't have enough space to grow that much. So they have to import a lot of it. At any rate, let's carry on here. Can I get a couple volunteers? Did you guys bring your knives today? You idiots. Every week, bring your knives, please. I need 2 or 3 people. Who has vegetable peelers? Anybody? Anyone have vegetable peeler? I suggest you get them because they're fairly useful in a kitchen. Who else has a vegetable peeler? All right, come on up here, please. Come on up here, please. And one more person. Ah, yes, perfect. So grab a couple bowls and just fill them with water. We're gonna peel all these potatoes and then put them into water, okay? So maybe grab 2 bowls. So we're gonna cook the steak to... Oh, yeah, perfect. I don't know, it could be, I don't know where it could be, to be honest with you. Yeah, look around for it. Maybe it's in the fridge, maybe we forgot it. I don't know. It's weird though, huh? Unless I put it back in the freezer, but I don't think I did. Take a look downstairs. Yeah. You guys can take a 5-minute. So we're gonna do a couple things today. You know what? Take a 2-minute break. I'm gonna go downstairs and see Sarah and Yuan Chi, okay? Then I'm also gonna peel the ribeye cap off of the ribeye, and we're gonna cook just ribeye cap steaks, okay? So you guys can try the difference between the ribeye steak and then just the cap, okay? So what I'm gonna do with this is I'm just gonna cut this roughly in half. This is actually still a wee bit frozen. All right. So we talked about the ribeye cap last week, right? Yeah? So the ribeye cap, right, is this part here, okay? That's the cap, the ribeye cap, okay? This is the ribeye, and this is the ribeye cap, okay? So to take this off, it's very easily, you just have to peel underneath. You don't even need a knife, okay? It should just come off very easily just by pulling it, okay? If you're Salt Bay, then you would slap it, right? Ooh, still a bit frozen, so it's really, really cold. What do you mean, what do I think about him? I don't know him. How can I have an opinion about somebody I don't know? Are you asking me if I think he's a good chef? Yeah. Is that what you're asking me? No, I don't particularly think he's a very good chef. Do I think he's successful? Of course. There's no denying that, right? You know Salt Bay? Yeah? Well, okay, here, I mean, here are the facts, okay? What are the maybe two or three, let's say 3, most famous groups that rate the quality of a restaurant or a chef? Can anyone name one? What's the most famous one? Michelin, right? And what's the second one? It's a kind of water. Sorry? Huh? No, San Pellegrino? You know, every year the San Pellegrino World's Best Restaurant Awards. You've never heard of these? Every year the San Pellegrino company rates 1 to 100 the best restaurants in the world, right? So in the industry, right, in the food and beverage industry, those 2 things, the Michelin star and the San Pellegrino 100 best, are considered to be sort of the, you know, I don't know. They're considered to be sort of the pinnacle of cooking, if you will, right? If you reach that level, or if you're recognized by this group of people, you're obviously a very good chef, okay? There's no denying that if you have 3 Michelin stars, you're obviously incredibly skilled at cooking, right? Now, is the Michelin star system still as good as it used to be? Why not? Sorry? I can't really hear what you're saying. The world's changed. Okay, but that doesn't really affect them. Think about in the last couple of years, okay, the types of restaurants that Michelin has given 1 star, 2 stars to. Think about Singapore. Okay? That's great. So now drain the water, and then you can put them right into here. When you put it in there, be careful. It gets hot, yeah? But dump the water out, and then dump it in. So in Singapore, and this is something this has been happening for a few years now with Michelin, is that in Singapore there was a food stall. They served soy chicken noodles, right? And it's just like a night market, right? And they got 1 Michelin star, okay? And this caused a bit of, uneasiness with a lot of chefs, because they were saying, well, this is a night market. There's no, he doesn't even have a wine list. You know what I mean? But then there's some restaurants, yeah, no, come on. There's some restaurants, look up. A shishini. But then there's some restaurants, right, that are really worthy of 1 Michelin star or even 2 Michelin stars that don't get any, right? Either maybe they're in a city that isn't nominated, right, or isn't reviewed, or maybe the person's opinion, right? Because remember, it's all opinion based, right? There's no real criteria for rating a restaurant, right? The Michelin inspectors, they just have their knowledge, like, is it nice? What's the service like? There's certain requirements, like you have to have a wine list, and you have to have, to get 3 Michelin stars, you have to reach certain things, right? So a lot of people are saying, like, well, this kind of it kind of takes away from it if they just give them to anybody now, right? And so this caused a bit of a problem with the Michelin stars. And even now, a lot of French chefs, and a lot of chefs are saying, I don't want to be in it, don't come here. Very famous French chef, Michel Roux, he gave his back. He said, take it back, I don't want it. It's just a headache for me, Some chefs have said, don't come at all. There was a very big problem in South Korea. I don't know if you guys heard about this. In South Korea, a chef there, he does sort of Italian cuisine, but modern, with sort of a Korean twist. And he told them, don't come to my restaurant, and don't list me in your guide. He sent them an email saying, do not do it. And what did they do? They came and reviewed his restaurant, and they listed him in the guide for Seoul. And he sued them and won. He also accused the head of the Asian section of Michelin for running a consulting business. So the head of the Michelin committee for Asia also runs a side business where he consults with people on how to get a Michelin star, right? Now, do you think this is okay? Not really, right? Because he is in charge of the people that give the Michelin stars, and he's getting money to tell you how to get one. We call that a conflict of interest, right? He has an interest in both sides, and that's a conflict of interest, right? You can't have that, right? And so that's kind of caused a problem, right, with Michelin, with the ratings and stuff. And that's the problem with the food and beverage industry, I think, maybe on a whole, is that there's no real true skill to being a food critic, right? The one award that I think a lot of chefs look at as being the most probably valuable is the 50 San Pellegrino 50 best. One section of that is the chef's award, the chef's choice, right? So all the chefs get to vote which restaurant they think is the best in the world. And a lot of people think like whoever wins that is really the best, because that's your peers, right? Chefs saying, we all think that this guy's the best, as opposed to some people who don't know, who've never been cooks, right? Saying, oh yeah, we think this guy's the best, right? So it's a tricky thing. Sorry, I kind of went a bit away on your first question. So coming back to that, right? So I don't even know what this guy's real name is, right? Like that's a point too, right? Can anyone tell me his real name? I know it. It's like Basik Turgamakistan or something, like, I don't know. It's something like that, right? So if he was truly skilled, people would know his real name, right? People would know his name. Nobody knows. Everyone knows him as Salt Bae, right? And I've gotten into not arguments, but I've gotten into conversations with people before when people say, look, oh, he's such a high-end chef, right? I see comments like this all the time on Instagram and Facebook. Oh, he's such a high-end chef. He's so skilled. And I reply to them like, I don't think you really understand the term high-end chef, what it really means, And they're like, oh, you're just mad because he's better than you. And it's sort of like, it's not really a competition. And I'm very quick to say I'm not taking away from his success, okay? Because he's successful, okay? I'm not trying to say he's not, okay? However, he doesn't have any Michelin stars, right? He's never even come close to the top 100 in the world, right? Not even close. Not even in the top 500, okay? His restaurants have generally very mediocre to bad reviews. He opened one in New York, and it was just, the critics' reviews there were just horrible. They said it was just plain food, salty, right? Think about the videos you've seen of him, right? He makes a dish, right? And then he just covers it in salt. Like tons of salt, right? I like fairly salty food, right? But I mean, even that's, to me, I'm like, Jesus, like, take it easy on the salt, man. You know what I mean? He posted a video recently of him making croissants. Okay? You guys know croissants, right? Yeah, it's a laminated dough, right? Meaning that it's layers of dough and butter. Okay? And he posted a video of this, right? And I can guarantee you from watching the video that whoever made, like, he didn't make the croissants. There's parts of him like playing around with the dough, like, slapping it or throwing it in the air or whatever. Like, I don't even know what he's doing with it. But you can tell, I'll tell you something about croissants, okay? There's also a group on Facebook called Croissants and Laminated Dough, okay? And I see people asking questions on this all the time. They say, oh, I'm looking for a really foolproof recipe. And what I've always commented on them is that something like croissants, right? Truly skilled cooking, it's not about the recipe, it's the technique. Always. Recipes are just a guide, right? This is sort of how you get to your end point, like a map, right? But the technique is the key. It doesn't matter if you have the best croissant recipe on the planet. If you have bad technique, that will show in your final product. And every time I comment that, people say, yeah, that's right, it doesn't matter. Croissant recipes are all about the same, okay? It's not like if I add 5 grams of sugar, all of a sudden, it's going to be like the most amazing croissant on the planet, right? I can do whatever I want with it. I can throw it in the air, I can slap it, I can Salt Bae, It doesn't matter, right? Because I'm not practicing good technique. And so, yeah, like Salt Bae, he's a very accomplished butcher, okay? I'm not going to say he's not. He's a very skilled butcher, okay? You can see that because when he cuts meat, he's very good at it. He's very efficient, he's very quick, his knife cuts are very clean, right? So he's a very efficient butcher. And he's been able to transition that into a restaurant. Does anyone know his history? He started in Turkey. You guys know Turkey? Not the bird, but the country, right? That's where he started. His name is Nurset. That's his name, Nurset something. He started in Turkey, and he opened 3 or 4 butchery shops, restaurants, whatever, and then opened one in Dubai. I guess someone in Dubai went to his restaurant and said, oh, I want to open one with you in Dubai. And then he became famous from the videos, okay? And then he's opened up several restaurants around the world since. So what he's done, he's a smart guy. He's obviously a smart guy. He's a very talented butcher. Is he a high-end chef? No. Is he going to get Michelin stars? No. Is he going to get San Pellegrino? No. Has he ever competed in competitions? No. Right? So, is he a smart chef? Yes. Is he a talented chef? Somewhat. Is he a high-end chef? No. That's my opinion of him. So I don't have an opinion of him as a person or whatever. I just have an opinion of him as a professional, right? And that's just what I see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's like the greatest pastry chef on the planet. Do I think he is? Probably not. But I don't know, right? I'm just going on what I see, right? Anyways, that's my opinion of Salt Bae. All right? Generally speaking, when you give an opinion of someone, you should try to keep it very to the point, right? There's lots of videos of him with soccer stars and coating. He has a steak coated in gold, right? I mean, these are gimmicks, right? They're things done to make it more grand and more opulent, right? But he's substituting skill for just covering it with gold. I could take a steak and rub it with caviar. Does that mean it's a good idea? Probably not, right? Okay. Anyways, getting back to the subject of beef. Okay. So now I'm going to cut, again, some steaks similar in thickness to the last ones we had. And again, this is a little bit frozen, but that's okay. It's actually a little bit easier to cut. So I'll cut about 4 or 5 like this. So we'll have 5 regular steaks. And we'll have 5 aged steaks. And then we'll have also the ribeye cap steak. This I'll vacuum pack and keep for another class. Yeah, so like, I mean, the problem with cooking nowadays is that I feel I'm sort of I'm at an age now where I learned to cook. I did my apprenticeship like the old-fashioned way. Okay, I never went to school. I mean, I went to school. I wasn't like born and then just like worked. I went to high school and everything, and I went to university, but I didn't go to school like in the sense that you guys are going to school, right? For cooking, I never went to school. I went to a hotel, and this is something that's fairly different in Europe and North America than Asia. In Europe and North America, they do what's called an apprenticeship, which you probably have heard of maybe. So in the olden days, there were no cooking schools, right? They didn't exist. And so if you wanted to become a chef, you would go and work in a restaurant or a hotel under a chef for approximately 4 years, okay? That was sort of the average time it took to learn the craft, okay, to become a chef. And that was called an apprenticeship. And that's what I did. So when I was growing up, we didn't really have cooking schools, so to speak, okay, not like now. Another problem that has sort of been getting more and more prevalent in the industry is that cooking shows, like MasterChef and I can't even think of another cooking show. Is there only MasterChef? I guess is like the only real big cooking show. They sort of have an Hell's Kitchen, right? You guys remember Hell's Kitchen, right? You bloody donkey and whatever, I don't know. Shows like that tend to paint a picture of the industry that's not entirely accurate, okay? So everyone thinks that Gordon Ramsay is kind of not a very nice guy, right? Yes. So everyone sort of has an opinion of Gordon Ramsay, right? That he's not a very nice guy. But in actuality, if you ever talk to anybody that's worked with him or for him, he's actually a fairly nice guy, right? Professional chefs used to have a reputation of being really, really mean, right? And I'm still fairly mean. I don't consider myself to be mean, as I am more just direct. Okay, I want you to do something, I'm going to tell you, right? I'm not going to be like, oh, could you please do this? Right? That's not my style. Okay? And you'll find that most chefs they're not mean people, but they're very direct. Because when you work in a hotel or you work in a restaurant, time is incredibly limited, right? We don't have 20 minutes for you to go skipping off down the street like in La La Land to get something, right? You have to be very good and you have to be very fast, okay? And I think that's where a lot of chefs got a reputation of being mean, is because they're just being direct, okay? They're just telling you exactly what they want you to do in an exactly direct, fast way. Do this now. And people think, oh, he hurt my feelings. He was so mean. He didn't say good morning, and he didn't ask me about my Instagram channel, and he didn't ask me about my TikTok channel. He just said, "Get me those eggs." Oh, he didn't even ask me if I wanted a latte with cinnamon and chai spice. He just said, "Get me those eggs." He's so mean. He's such a mean guy. Okay, but he has the amount of pressure to run a hotel or a kitchen is incredibly high. It's very stressful. So most chefs do not have time to consider your Instagram or your TikTok channel, and they also don't care. They just want you to get to work as fast as possible, and that's it. Okay? That's it. All right. So we've got our ribeye cap, okay? So now you can see we've got two pieces here, okay? This one's got a little bit of sinew on it, but we'll still cook it anyways. But from this piece of beef, we only got this, okay? So you can see why this would be so expensive, right? Because now, if I take this one off, I've just got this ribeye left. I have to sell that ribeye to somebody, right? But nobody really wants to buy just the ribeye, right? So I have to sell it at a cheaper price. So in order to make my money back, this I have to sell at a very expensive price, okay? And this in a steakhouse or a restaurant would be very expensive, okay? Usually as much or maybe more than a tenderloin, okay? Because it's very, very good. So now we've got our ribeye cap, we've got our traditional ribeyes, we've got our aged ribeyes, okay? So to finish this, we're also going to get some vacuum bags, and I'm going to show you a little bit the difference between cooking steak in sous vide and also cooking steak just in a regular pan, okay? All right, so I'm just going to grab some vacuum bags here. It says bacon. It's not going to work. Okay. So we've also got some potatoes that my good friends peeled for me. And now we're just going to boil those in some salted boiling water, okay? So we've got some salted boiling water. We're going to cook these potatoes until they're very soft, and then we're going to run them through a food mill, okay? So you put food in, turn the handle, and the potatoes come out the bottom, nice and fine. When you're making, look, there's nothing wrong with lumpy mashed potatoes, okay? That's like a thing. People like it. They're like, yeah, it's nice. It's like my mom made, right? Lumpy mashed potatoes kind of suck, okay? So if you're going to make nice mashed potatoes, you need to make sure you put them through a ricer or a sieve so that they're nice and fine, so there's no lumps, okay? So I'm just going to label these bags up real quick. And so we'll do 3 sous vide, and 2 I'll just do in traditional. And then we'll also do the 28-day ribeye, also in sous vide. So, do you guys know much about the history of sous vide cooking? Do you know what sous vide means? What does it mean? No. What does the word sous vide mean? Anyone here take French? No, she doesn't take French. She doesn't go to French class. Bonjour, bonjour, oh, your French is so good. Yeah, I know, I am French. So nobody here goes to French class, yeah? All right, that's fine. Sous means under, okay? Sous means under. So like the term sous chef, you've heard of that before, right? That means the under chef, okay? Sir means on top, not sir, S-I-R, like sir and ma'am. Sir as in S-U-R, okay? I'm not going to get crazy with my French accent. Ciel. So, sur means on top. Sous, S-O-U-S, means under. Vide means vacuum, okay? So, means under vacuum. So, once this goes in here and I vacuum it, technically this is sous vide, okay? Then there's the cooking process sous vide, which means, yes, at a low temperature for a long time. That process is also accurately and probably more scientifically known as cryovac. Okay? So sous vide cooking, most people just think that it was sort of something developed by chefs, right? But in actuality, it was developed by French and American engineers, and it was used initially for the process of food safety. So when you bag something, if you package food in a proper way, safely, right? No bacteria, you follow all your HACCP steps, right? The food that goes in this bag is very safe, low in bacteria, right? You make a vacuum, you cook it at a certain temperature, that's called pasteurization, okay? Pasteurization is very common nowadays in order to extend the shelf life and to lower the bacteria, okay? You'll often, one thing you find a lot nowadays that's pasteurized is milk, okay? In fact, the milk that we use, this is pasteurized, okay? So this milk, when it's unopened, there's two tops to it. There's this top and there's also a seal. So this is just like the juice boxes, right? Or even like you go to the market, you'll see the tea in this kind of Tetra Pak. So this type of milk, I could okay. This type of milk, oh yeah, good, photos. Yeah, sponsor stuff. Hey, there we go. Yeah, thank you guys for nothing. So this type of milk though, because it's in this Tetra Pak, technically I could take it and not put it in the fridge for several months. Okay, 2, 3, 4 months, it can be out of the fridge because it's pasteurized in a sealed container, which means the bacteria inside is killed because of the temperature, and it's sealed so no bacteria can get in. Okay? So this type of milk, and also the same, this type of cream, they've been pasteurized. Okay? So really you don't need to actually keep them in the refrigerator. Once you open it, right, because now you've broken the seal and it's exposed to air, and air has bacteria, right? Once you do that, then you need to put it in the refrigerator, okay? So now what I want to do is we're going to take our ribeye steak, so sous vide cooking or cryovacing was originally developed by French and American engineers, basically food scientists. And then this was originally developed around the 60s, the 1960s. And then a very famous French chef by the name of Michel Toigreau. You know this guy, right? You've probably heard of him, right? I mean, you don't know him. You don't call him like, hey, Michel, what's happening? Huh? But anyways, this French chef, Michel Toigreau, he wanted to cook foie gras in a certain way to make it the best, so that it wouldn't lose so much fat. And he contacted another chef by the name of Georges Pralas, also a French chef. And together, Georges Pralas was very skilled in the art of using sous vide cooking. He was a food scientist and chef. And so he worked together with Michel Toigreau to make this dish of foie gras using sous vide cooking. Okay? Another very famous chef, Joël Robuchon, he also wanted to start to utilize sous vide cooking in his restaurants. And so he worked with another chef. I can't remember his name off the top of my head now. Begins with a B. But he started working with another chef and food scientist and chef to create a sous vide cooking program within the Robuchon kitchens. All right, and so that's how sous vide cooking sort of became popular in kitchens. And then it came over to the US. And after it got to the US, chefs like Thomas Keller and Harold McGee started to really investigate it quite a bit and started to utilize it a lot more in restaurants. Okay? And so that's how sous vide cooking sort of became more mainstream than it is now. Unfortunately, for some reason, a lot of people, they think that like everything should be sous vide. Some restaurants, like they just cook entirely based on sous vide, and maybe they overdo it a bit. Yeah. Not everything has to be cooked sous vide. Sometimes now I find restaurants, they just put the word out there just for fun, like sous vide chicken breast. Like, all right, take it easy. If you're skilled enough at cooking, you shouldn't need to sous vide a chicken breast. You know, you should be able to cook that very well traditionally. So I'm also going to put just a little bit of olive oil into these bags as well. And then we'll just vacuum pack these up. The other steaks we're just going to let get to room temperature. Before we cook them. It's also very important when you're cooking steak, do not cook it directly from the fridge, right? It's not good. Ow. It's not good to take meat directly from the fridge and try to cook it. If you take a steak, especially something like this thick, right? If you take a steak that's thick like this and you put it into a hot pan and cook it, and let's say the customer wants it rare or medium rare, the inside is still going to be cold, okay? And that's not really what you want, right? You don't want a warm steak on the outside and cold in the middle. What you want is a steak that's been cooked properly, but it's warm throughout, okay? So it's always good to let a steak sit for 20 to 30, even up to an hour before you cook it, to really get to the proper temperature. So we're also going to take these 4 ribeyes and just crush up a little bit of garlic here. And put a little bit of garlic in there, some rosemary, and some thyme. The other thing we're going to make today, so we're going to have some steak, and then we're going to have some side dishes, because it's always nice to eat steak with some dishes that are delicious. So I'm going to plug in my vacuum machine here. Unfortunately, we only have one. Unfortunately, we only have one 220 plug up here, so I have to unplug the sous vide machine, which is fairly annoying. Yeah. Thank you. And actually, you can just put one bag in. So unfold it. No, unfold it. You're going to do this for me, okay? One bag at a time, okay? In, and just close the lid. Okay? Let it run right through. Okay. Great. That's, yeah, perfect. So in addition to our steak, we are going to make, so we got some potatoes here cooking. This is an American russet potato, R-U-S-S-E-T-T, russet potato. Let's put it on here. I really hate these ones. And the russet potato is not really the best potato in the world for mashed potatoes because it's very high in water content, okay? You know, potatoes all have a different texture, right? Some potatoes are very, what we call dry or starchy, and some potatoes are fairly wet, okay? The russet potato is not a great potato for doing mashed potatoes because it has a fairly high water content. But in Taiwan, there's limited options for the potatoes we can get. So we use what we can. Actually, the russet potato, did I have you guys for study of ingredients? Study of ingredients. No, right? I think you guys had study of ingredients, right? The course, right? Was I your teacher? No, okay. I couldn't remember. I think it was the sophomores I had for study of ingredients. So in the study of ingredients course that I taught, we talk a lot about, well, I don't know the study of ingredients you guys took, but the one that I teach, we go into very, very in-depth about ingredients. And some of the ingredients we talk about are things like potatoes, because they're very, very different. And you guys all know McDonald's, right? You guys, has everyone here had a McDonald's French fry before? You've never had McDonald's French fries? Everyone, raise your hand if you've had McDonald's French fries. Everyone's had them. Don't lie. Don't lie to me. I know. I never had McDonald's French fries. Oh, I don't go there. Liars. So actually, the McDonald's French fry was a genetically modified potato based on the russet potato. So that potato we had before, that long brown, that dark brown potato, that's called a russet, R-U-S-S-E-T. The McDonald's French fries are made from a potato called a russet Burbank. B-U-R-B-A-N-K, Burbank. Burbank is the last name of a scientist who developed the potato specifically for McDonald's. Have you ever noticed that McDonald's French fries sometimes are super long? Right? They're like freakishly long, right? They're like longer than your arm. You're like, oh, this is great. Right? The reason being is that McDonald's wanted a very sort of unique, I guess, I don't know how else to describe it. They wanted a very unique or sort of recognizable French fry. They wanted a French fry that had a very long shape to it. And so they had this scientist, Mr. Burbank, I can't remember his first name now, but they had this scientist, Burbank, develop, by Jay, they had this scientist develop this specific potato just for McDonald's, which are slightly longer than even this potato, okay? We call that a russet Burbank. So our potatoes are cooking. They're almost done now. So I'm just going to take a look here. And we really want them to be quite soft. And that's good there. So they're really soft now. My vegetable peelers, can you come back? My sweet vegetable peelers. No, just wait. You can just put them here for now. Is that the last one? No. Okay. You got your vegetable peelers? So you're going to take this and just carefully, just from the bottom of the head here, just peel all the way down, okay? I just want to take off that little bit of outside skin there, okay? Okay, just like that. Once they're all peeled, you're going to trim about this much off. This part we don't want, it's too fibrous, okay? And then just like that, okay? And then separate the two, all right? So you can have a bowl here like this. Okay. All right. So, can I get one person to help me, please? You? Perfect. So actually you're gonna, do you want to hold this and I'll dump the potatoes? Or do you want to hold it? Yeah. All right. So now that my potatoes are cooked, actually we're gonna go in the sink. No bowl, the bowl is for later. So just hold it like that, yeah. Maybe pull your hand back a little bit like that. Yeah, just in case, I don't want to burn you. I don't know. How do I know? Yeah? That's fine. No problem. Takes a very long time to do that. So yes, they're good. Thank you for asking. All right. So now I'm going to drain my potatoes off very carefully here. Thank you. I might put those So the potatoes, when you want to make mashed potatoes, they should be soft to the point that I can just push them like that, okay? You see? I could just mash them with my finger if I wanted to. Wait for the drop. Okay? DJ mashed potato. The reason being, so I want them to be really, really soft so that when I go to mash them, I don't have any lumps, okay? When they're this soft, I also know that, oh, we gotta do more. Sorry, I was just having my little DJ moment there, sorry. It's something, you know, you can't stop it, right? When the music hits, when the beat drops, you know? Okay, just give those a quick drain, yeah. So the reason being is that also once I know that they're really soft like that is that I've got all the starch out. If you undercook mashed potatoes and try to mash them, you're going to get a very sticky, like gooey mess, okay? And that is really unpleasant to eat. Oi, sorry. You good there? So we just got a little bit more to go. So the other thing I want to do with my mashed potatoes is make them delicious. I don't know if this is going to work here, but See what happens. Okay. One more time. Oh, come on. Lovely. So what I also want to do is I'm going to take some, oh, this is the wrong cream. I'm going to take some cream, okay? So I just got some heavy cream, okay? So I'm going to put some heavy cream in there. And some milk, okay? Some people use just milk. Some people use just cream. Some people use just milk. It's really up to you. I like to use a bit of both. The reason being because cream is very expensive, right? Milk is less expensive, but cream is more delicious, right? So I like to do a blend of cream and milk so I get the best of both. Not too expensive, but also some creaminess, right? You'll find like a lot of things, cooking is about balance. You can just stay right there. Is there another bowl? Okay. All right. So now, so this, like I said, this is called a food mill, okay? So basically there's a handle here, and this handle goes inside, and there's a little bar across here. You see that? Yeah. Underneath the bar is a spring. Okay, that spring attaches to this little blade here. It's not sharp, okay? That blade with the spring forces down, okay, against this grate. This grate you can get in different sizes, right? Very, very small to large, okay? Obviously for mashed potatoes we want as small as possible. It's also got little sort of arms here to clip onto things, okay? I hope that's gonna be okay. Yeah. Okay. And so Pearl will put some potatoes in and start to turn it, and that blade in there will just start to force the potatoes out and down. Okay. And so that's how you get really nice mashed potatoes. So I've got some milk and cream here, right? I'm also going to take some salt. Remember that potatoes have no salt, right? So they need a nice amount. I've also got some white pepper here. So I'll put some white pepper in. And can I get a photo? But not with this. Different sponsors. Yeah, because these guys give us butter and they give us butter, right? So I don't want to have like nasty emails from them like, "What are you doing using another butter?" It's like my girlfriend and my wife, you know. I don't have a girlfriend. It would be like my girlfriend and my wife, like, you know, you're cheating on me with the other butter. So this company also gives us butter. So this is a really good quality butter, President butter. It's not like the world's greatest, but in the terms of like mass production of butter and worldwide supply, President butter is considered to be one of the better ones because it's high in fat and low in water. Okay, so this would be considered like a dry butter. Okay, this is also unsalted. I prefer to get butter unsalted rather than salted, just because if I'm using it for something where I don't want salted butter, then I can, and I can always add salt. Right? I have the technology to add salt if I so choose. So that's why I always get unsalted butter, and President is just a good quality butter, so we're going to use that. Now the other thing I need to do. How are we doing over there, Pearl? Good? Yeah, it's quite the workout, huh? Yeah, just keep loading it up there. Now, mashed potatoes are, of course, I'm just going to take a little bit of butter. Okay, so I'm going to take my butter. a little bit. So I got about 200 grams of butter in there. I might put in more after, I don't know, we'll see. I'll just take this out for a second. Just scrape the bottom here real quick. Give me 1 sec. So now you can see the mashed potatoes here is very, very creamy, yeah? Very smooth. No lumps, yeah? That's the key. No lumps. Sorry, thank you very much. So I'm just going to strain this off a little bit here, because this pot is really not very good. I'm going to add a little bit more milk. How are we doing with those? How are we doing with that asparagus there, ladies? So-so? Ah, look at that, eh? Chivalry isn't dead. What a nice guy. I take that back. I wish chivalry was dead. So we're gonna. This guy, huh? Where did you find this guy? Is he supposed to be across the street at the high school? So now we're just going to take our steaks and we're going to drop them in. Hey, Jay. Look at this guy on his computer playing TikTok. And so we're going to take our steaks now. Okay, they've been vacuum packed. We've run a very long vacuum on them to make sure there's no air. If you don't have a vacuum machine, that's fine. You can put them into a Ziploc bag and you get a container of water. You drop the Ziploc bag in, that forces the air out, and then you shut it, right? And then you can just put it in to the vacuum, or into the sous vide cooker, okay? So this is gonna go in. Ah! Don't worry, it's vacuum packed. So that's gonna go in. I've got this thermocirculator. This is what we call this machine here. It's called a thermocirculator, okay? And basically it's just a really, really nice hot water bath. So it's got a metal coil inside that heats up the water. It's also got a pump that shoots the water out. so that the whole area is the same temperature. If there was no pump shooting the water out, just the area around here would be hot, and this area would only be warm, right? It wouldn't be the same temperature everywhere, okay? So that water is going to circulate around. This is set at 54 degrees, which is about medium rare, medium rare. And this I can leave in here for 30 minutes, I can leave in here for 2 hours. Doesn't matter, okay? When it comes out of here, I'll pat it dry, and then we'll just sear it off in a pan just to finish it, okay? Right behind you. Right behind you. Right behind you. Almost done? All done. Wonderful. Can I have those 2 bowls, please? Shishini. All right. Quite the workout here, huh? If you do this all the time, you're going to have one massive shoulder and then one just regular shoulder. So then you're going to walk around like this. So, yeah, I lift, bro. So you can just tidy up there. Cutting boards can go to the sink. You can wipe down the counter there as well. It's fine. How are we doing in mashed potato land? Great. So we're also going to have with our potatoes, so what we're making today is truffle potato. So to do this, I've got some black truffle paste, okay? And I've got some truffle oil, okay? Oh, I need photos of this as well, actually. This is all free. Yeah, this is all free, huh? So this is this particular one is a black truffle. Okay, so truffles come in black and white. The white truffle is usually more expensive. Not usually, it is always more expensive. I have both downstairs, white and black. But for mashed potatoes, truffle mashed potatoes, black truffle is just fine. Okay. When you're using truffles or truffle oil or truffle paste, you want to avoid high heat. Truffle paste you can warm up. Truffle oil you don't really want to cook or get it too hot because it ruins the flavor. Okay? Quite the workout, huh? Woo! All right. Well, we don't seem to have enough space. Do we have paper towel? Paper towel? Sorry. That's okay. I mean, we don't need to waste too much time on it. We have a lot of potatoes here, so just scrape the bottom. Yeah, you can use that. Can you guys bring up a pack? It's fine, just leave it in there. All right. So we're going to take our potato here and we're going to split up this cream and milk sort of evenly between 3. Now some people, there's no real wrong or right way to do this, but some people, when they make potatoes like this way, okay, what they do is they'll just take the hot potato and then they'll just add in a bunch of cold milk, cold cream and butter and let the potatoes melt that and warm it up. I've never really been a fan of doing that. I like to heat up my cream and milk so that the potatoes don't get cold, okay? But again, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just personal preference. I find that this way you don't need to reheat your potatoes. And so what you should be left with is just a nice, creamy, very smooth mashed potato, okay? Preferably not on your face. And then of course, you need to taste them right. And I actually need a bit more milk, so I'll just put a bit in cold because I don't have any pots anymore. And then I'll just warm this up again when we need it. So that's our base for our mashed potatoes, okay? So this I'll just leave off to the side here for a minute. And right before we serve it, we'll add in our truffle paste and our truffle oil, okay? Like I just mentioned, you don't really want to cook it too long, okay? So now we've got some steak here. And when you're cooking this, what you'd want to avoid, once you've cooked it, is to put it onto some paper towel, okay? Just to absorb any extra butter that might be on there, because we're going to be using a fairly large amount of butter when we cook these. Oh, these ridiculous paper towels. God. I miss like North American products, you know? Like we just have rolls of toilet paper towel, you know? Not these silly packs that are totally useless. Okay. Whatever. So the other thing we're gonna make is, we've got this asparagus here, okay? We've got really nice large asparagus. And we've got some cherry tomatoes here. Can I get a little help here, please? Just go through and take off, yep. And one more person, please. So I'm just going to go through and take off just the tops there. All right, so what I'm going to do just temporarily just going to take our pork out of the oven. It's not finished yet, but I want to use this oven for the steak. And you can see it's starting to get some brown color from the smoke. So I'm just going to turn that oven up because I want to use it for my for cooking steak in. So I'm just going to take this steak off here, and also my other steak. All right, that's great. You can just leave that up there for now. So when we finish the steaks, we're going to want to baste them, okay, which is a very common technique in Europe and in North America when they cook meats and fish. When it's finished cooking, they'll take butter and they'll baste it with fresh herbs over that meat or fish product. And that's just done to help add some additional flavor. So we'll just get some thyme and some rosemary ready. And butter, of course, I've already got lots, so I don't need to worry so much about that. And I also want some cloves of garlic. Okay, so that's ready. So when I cook the steak, I've got all this stuff ready here that I need. Okay, I've got butter ready. And I'll even get a bit more because I tend to use a lot of butter when I cook steak, just because I like to. Okay. Just going to check to see if we have any black pepper out here. Just looking for some black pepper. But where? Oh, sweet. Yeah, I never bring any up here. I don't really want to crush any. Yeah, fuck it. Well, that's all right. We'll just use salt. They don't have any black pepper. So I'm just going to season this up. Then what we're going to do is heat up a pan here. And we might need to grab another a blue box actually, if the room is still, these pans don't work. Another blue box, yellow box, please. I don't know why they get frying pans that don't work. What is the point of this? All right. So I'm going to take a little oil. this work? Good. So we want to get a nice high heat, basically to the point of smoking. Can I have another towel? 2 towels, please. Dry. Thank you. Okay. So we got a nice hot pan here. So we're going to take our steaks straight into the pan. Maybe I should get out first. Okay. You're going to stack it right on top of that other yellow bin there. Should fit right on top there, yeah? Okay. Hopefully we got some more pans that work. So this is, thank you. So I'll just season it with a little black pepper as well, since we've got it. Thank you. Not necessary, but thank you. So you can see now I got a nice golden color in there, yeah? Nice caramelization, okay? I'll get a little bit more pepper on top here. So when you're cooking steak, you can do it like this, or you can do it on a grill, okay? Like this, right? Grill. Either one's fine. So you should be able to smell that caramelization, okay? Okay, you can see just really, really nice, even golden brown color. And this I'm going to go into the oven now. And we'll let that finish off in there. So now I've got some beef stock, beef juice. Okay, that's going to reduce. That's going to give us our sauce. Now we want to start cooking our vegetables. So I've got this nice asparagus here, right? Okay. Very nice, large asparagus. Okay. I feel like asparagus, if you're going to use asparagus, don't get the tiny little asparagus sometimes you see here. It's not really useful. It cooks like in an instant and it's overcooked, right? When you cook asparagus, it should still be al dente, right? Not mushy all the way through, but have a bite to it. We got some cherry tomatoes, some capers, and some nice black olives, okay? And I've also got some flat leaf parsley here, okay? So I'm just going to take most of the stems off here, and I'm making stock later, so I'll save these. As my stock reduces, I can just add a bit more, that's fine. I'm going to take a little bit of oil and to do our ribeye cap steak, it's fairly quick. Because it's such a thin steak, this is going to go straight into the pan and then cook on both sides, and that's it. It won't need to go into the oven. Okay. So we'll get this ribeye cap in. While that's going, I'll just take a quick peek at my other steak. So we're just going to let this rest over here for a minute. I think a piece of fuck, I'm dying over here. Holy shit. A piece of pepper went down the wrong way. Oh my god. Don't worry. It's not Wuhan virus. Don't worry. I can't even talk now. Okay. Good Lord. That was horrible. Oh, oh. All right, I'll plop this in the oven so I don't have to worry about it right now. Just to speed this up. Next thing I want to do is get some vegetables cooking. So to finish our vegetables, take a nice schwack of butter here. I also had some confit garlic here. So I just took some garlic cloves and cooked them in olive oil. Maybe you guys can start to pull the beef out of the sous vide for me, please. If you need some tongs, they're over there. Great. Sure. You know, these pans, I swear to God, having some that work and don't work is incredibly frustrating. Come on. I'm gonna add a bit more stock to my sauce here. The more this reduces, the thicker it'll get. So I'm gonna put the base end of the asparagus in first, right? This is a little tougher, okay? It'll be longer to cook. And if this gets slightly overcooked, I'm not too worried about it, but I really want this top piece to be perfectly cooked, okay? So I'll start to put some of these in. Thanks. Dumbass. Thank you for 50% of the job. So I've got olives, I got capers. I'll grab my cap steaks from the oven. I'm going to just let that cook. We'll let this go just for another minute. Also in the mornings, bring a lighter or get a lighter from them so we can use the stove. So maybe you can start to open these up for me and just put them on the paper towel here, but keep them organized. Yeah?
No.
Well, ask first, yeah? God, you guys have no manners, you know that? Guys, when you start Western cooking, if you don't bring this to class, you don't come to class. Got it? Got it? So which one is this? You have to keep them organized, right? So which one is this? Is it aged ribeye or not aged ribeye? You don't know. And how can you tell? Well, that, but also read the bag. What does it say? 28 what? 28 days aged, right. All right, so I just cooked off my asparagus. I'm going to get my asparagus tops in here. Bag? No. So we got our ribeye cap as well. I don't want the herbs either. Ah, yeah, yeah. Just put them on top. More paper towel. So I'm going to take some black olives, and these are going to go in here as well. And some capers. And you guys can also put it down here as well now. Huh? Yeah, yeah. Watch your hands. All right, so I'll start to heat up some mashed potatoes here, and then we'll start to cook off our steak. So which is which here, guys? Which is which? This is what, the aged ribeye?
Yes.
These four here?
Yep.
Okay. Great, thank you. I think in the future we're just going to borrow all the equipment we need for this class, because I find these pans, like, we're constantly, the size of pans they have are not great. So it makes it a bit tricky to do this. So I'm just going to heat up some mashed potatoes. You guys have something to taste with? All right, good. So I'm just going to heat these up in the oven to keep the steak warm. And we got some mashed potatoes going. We got some veg cooking here, slowly. Nice. All right, so so this was our unaged ribeye, right? So you can see, right, it's cooked basically medium rare, but the edges is what you need to pay attention to, okay? And I'll explain that to you in a bit here. In just a second, and you guys can come up and start to try this. Look at how quickly you guys move, huh? I ask you a question, it's like pulling teeth. I say, come up and try some beef. You guys are like, ah, shit. Can you guys find a scrubby pad in there? Just clean those, please, for me. All right. These pans are hot, okay? So be careful, please. If you find something to scrub this with?
Yeah, oven.
Oh, okay. All right. So you can see how this is cooked, yeah? This is essentially like medium rare, right? But you see the edges, right? The edges are well done, right? Why don't you just stir that for me, okay? Just stir it a little bit for me. Keep stirring it. So that's our traditional ribeye, okay? That's cooked in a frying pan, right? Then we have our ribeye cap, okay? And you can see this one, the marbling, the fat that runs through it, it's extremely tender, okay? So that's our ribeye cap, okay? Make sure everybody gets a piece, yeah? So if you have to share, share. But I don't want somebody to come after me and say, oh, I didn't get a ribeye thing. Okay, so that's our traditional steak, right? That's our ribeye cap, right? That's fine, thanks. Not the bowls, pans, please. Yeah, I don't need the bowls. Okay. So there's our asparagus. Okay, there's a little sauce there. Now, to finish our mashed potato or truffle mash, so we've got our nice creamy mashed potatoes there, okay? And this, you can also stir for me. So to finish this, we're gonna take a little bit of our black truffle paste. Okay, a nice spoonful of that. And then we're gonna take truffle oil. You guys have eaten truffles before? Of course, now it doesn't open. Really? Try to open that for me. The whole thing is just spinning. You need a... No, I understand how to open things. It's not that I don't know how to open it. It's that it's not opening. You can just leave that for a minute. Let it warm up a bit. Huh? Yeah, I know that. You know, honestly, this is like, this class, I swear, is fucking cursed. If it's not one thing, it's another thing with you guys, you know? Like, 2 weeks in a row I cut myself. Now the seal of this fucking truffle oil isn't open, you know? Like, just one thing after another with this classroom. I don't know if it's you guys or if it's this room. It is ridiculous, though. For fuck's sake, man. You know, I gotta tell the supplier, you guys are, send me a bottle that I can't even open. It's unbelievable. I've never been in a classroom with so many problems. Yeah. That's 800 NT. This costs 880. Ba ling. Yeah. Okay, that's 880 NT. And that's 900 ba. 900 ba. All right. So you guys can taste, yeah, please? Thank you. Should be one more. And maybe we won't have truffle potatoes because we're never going to get truffle oil. That's a whole nother class, yeah? So we're not going to worry about that now because I have to focus on this or else we're not going to get anywhere. Just stir this for me. Jesus Christ, you guys. Where's that truffle oil? Truffle oil. Hello? Where's the truffle oil? Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to take some salt. Thank you. So we're going to take some salt and we'll season up. So this is our traditional ribeye, right, that we cooked in sous vide, yeah, but not aged, right? Jay, did you get a piece? All right. So now we got our ribeye that we cooked sous vide, right? And again, very nice color on the outside there. And stir that too, please. So then we're going to take some cloves of garlic here. Some rosemary. Some fresh thyme. And then a nice big spoonful of butter. Okay, how you guys doing over there? So you guys can try that as well. That's our truffle potato, but no truffle oil. So now when we baste this steak, we're just going to use the butter and all this ribeye, okay? So we got all these nice herbs in here. And you should be able to smell all that nice thyme and rosemary and garlic. You got another frying pan for me? That's fine. Okay, that's great. Nope, thank you. All right. Thyme, rosemary, garlic, and butter. So now we're going to let this rest as well, okay? I'll tell you that in just a minute. Once we get this going a little bit more. So now we're going to get a little bit of oil into our pans here. Did you get open? Oh, thank Christ. What the hell happened to this thing? Oh, wow, that's really unsafe. Can you just clean this up for me? You should be able to peel all that metal off, so it's just the plastic left. So then, now we have the truffle oil, finally. To use the truffle oil, you just sprinkle a bit into the potatoes or on top, okay? So for instance, with these potatoes here, can you stir those please a bit more? Oh, I don't need that. Just keep it off the side for now. Okay, so now you guys remember that we had our steaks that we cooked in sous vide, right? Now you'll notice this one, when we get into it, is more evenly cooked, okay? There's less gray around it, okay? Are you okay? Tell you, man, it's this class. It's cursed. Okay, so there's our sous vide ribeye, okay? So if you look at the ribeye, hey guys, girls, please. Hot, hot. If you look at this ribeye compared to the one we cooked traditionally, right, in a pan and then the oven, you'll notice that this one is very evenly cooked, right? It's not gray so much on the outsides and medium rare just in the middle, but it's almost entirely side to side medium rare, right? Because we've cooked it to medium rare in water and then we just sear it to finish it. So that's one of the major advantages. One of the major advantages of cooking with sous vide for steak. Is that hot? No, not the pot. Is that hot? Yeah, the pan's kind of hot. Great. Keep it on the stove, please. All right. Now we've got our. Make sure everybody tries some, please. I don't want everybody clogging up the middle here. Now we've got our ribeyes, our aged ribeyes. Okay. Elizabeth, make sure you get some, please. I think it's this pot. You know, I'm really sick of this shit. I think it's this pot. It doesn't work. Whoever designed this kitchen is in need of a serious punch in the head. All right, so we've got our ribeye steaks. So these are the ones that we cooked in sous vide. They're also the dry aged, right? What? Sorry? I'm sorry. I can't quite hear what you said, but again, guys, girls, garlic cloves, rosemary, thyme. Okay, you can use other things too. You can use shallots, you can use sage. It's all good, okay? Butter. Okay, lots of butter. If you ask any or most high-end chefs or Michelin star chefs, they'll tell you the biggest difference between high-end cooking and regular cooking is butter. The amount of butter it might sound funny, but the amount of butter you use and cook with changes your food dramatically. You guys maybe think that it doesn't change it too much, but it really, really does. So I'm just going to baste this over, flip these guys, okay, you see nice golden brown crust, okay, and again, garlic, rosemary, some thyme, and then again, butter. Okay, so we can take that mashed potato over to the other station, please. Over there. So we're just going to baste over our steaks here. And you should be able to smell that garlic and that herb right away, huh? Should be very, very strong. That's hot. And then again, basting over so we get a nice that's hot. Now in our potatoes, to finish these again, right, we're going to take some black truffle paste, right, black truffle paste. That's going to go in, a nice big spoonful in there. This we're just going to mix around really quickly. Okay, and then at the very end, you're going to take white truffle oil or black truffle oil, and that goes in right on top. So then you get this smell, this really nice smell of truffles, okay? Now, somebody asked me something about 2 minutes ago, or 3 minutes ago, beautiful, about resting the meat. Who was that? Don't say me. You asked me. Okay. Me. Sucker. That's just it's just the end fat. You guys are like, what's he doing? Why would he? He's crazy. He's lost his mind. Okay, so this is another piece of our ribeye, just cooked sous vide, okay, not aged. So somebody asked me about the resting of the meat, right? Sarah? Yes. So when you cook meat, hey. You want some Nyoro Songlu potato? Okay. He's missing out, that sucker. So when you cook meat, any kind of meat, as you heat it up, the molecules inside expand outwards. Okay? So when you heat up or cook beef, the molecules inside, they start to speed up, right? Because you're adding heat. Whenever you add heat to molecules, they go faster, right? And so they're pushing outwards, okay? So when you cook a piece of meat, the molecules are trying to leave that piece of meat. If I cook it and then cut it right away while it's still hot, that juice is going to just go right out, okay? Because it's still hot. What I want to do is heat it up to cook it. Then I want to just lower the temperature a bit so that the meat starts to bring that juice back in. I have in another class book, well, hold on, let me get to this. So this is now our 28-day aged ribeye, okay? That looks disgusting, right? You know what? I don't even want to give this to you guys. It doesn't look good, so I'll just eat it myself. No, just because I don't want to throw it out. And you're going to notice a difference in texture, right? The meat should be more tender. And you're going to notice a difference in taste, okay?
Can I take one to give the student that Western cook? The student just walk.
Yeah.
He's my friend.
He's your friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you can take... Well, just tell him to come in here and get some. Tell him to stop being such a jerk.
Be shy, so I think I can.
No, you tell him to come in here and get some. Tell him to stop being a jerk. Tell him don't be shy. Tell him I love him. He's my favorite.
He went back to his class.
Oh, what a sucker. Okay. So now you guys, I want you to try this, but also maybe take a little bite of this first as well, so you can sort of gauge the difference in taste, okay? But go on, try. So remember, this is our 28-day aged beef, okay? Watch your arms, Sarah, please. Hey, if you're going to get the beef, focus on taking the beef. Don't turn around and talk to your friend, okay? All right, take the beef, please. So do you notice a difference between the two? Did you get some? Did you try? Oh, come on now. Come on now. So that's the 28-day aged ribeye. Do you want some more? Yeah, come on. Don't be shy. Okay. So you should notice a difference in the ribeye that's unaged and the ribeye that's aged. Also, it's nice to dip it in here, a little whoop, 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 whoop. Right? Also delicious. Huh? Yeah. Don't just turn off the power though. No, don't. Do not. You have to stop the...
Stop the engine, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Owen. That's just pure fat. Okay, man. Where did you get this plate? You brought a plate? Damn. He doesn't mess around, eh? Gets his own table, tablecloth, the candles and stuff like, oh, welcome, table for one. So you should notice a fairly big difference between the texture and taste of the aged beef and the not aged beef. The aged beef should have a much more, almost like nutty or buttery taste, much richer. The regular steak would just have like a regular sort of beef taste, but not as intense as the aged steak. Also, when so we put the beef into the aging room, right? And what happens is the air dries out the beef, yeah?
Yes.
So as it's drying it out, it intensifies the flavor, right? Because we're taking water out, okay? But also inside, there's what's called enzyme. Do you know enzyme? Do you know what an enzyme is? I know what it is. I'm using them right now. You guys know what enzyme is? What is enzyme in Chinese? You guys know what that is, right? Right? So in your body, everybody's body, and any animal, right? Every animal, everybody's body, there's enzymes, okay? Your mouth is the first place that you have an enzyme, right? When you eat, there's enzymes in your mouth that start to break down food, right? And your whole system, there's enzymes. They all do different things, okay? So when we take a piece of beef, guys, can you help? What do you want, Elizabeth? Just use a spoon. Oh, potato. Oh, there's no more potatoes here. But they're in the pan. There's some in the pot there. There's some in the pot there. But that pot, it's, yeah, give it here. Well, I don't want to, I'm not going to heat it up, but we can put some truffle in there, because that's just delicious. Give that a stir for me, please. So, as I was saying, what happens is, odd method of stirring. Just go around in like a full circle. Not like here, 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 under there, over there, a little bit here. All right, listen. So what happens is, there's enzymes in the beef, okay? And as they sit, they start to break down the muscle. Similar to like if Lenny were to kill me with his car, right, which I'm sure will happen soon, because he just got a license. Thank God he doesn't have a car yet. And a little truffle oil. Oh, that's dangerous. Can we clean this up later?
Yeah.
Like I just about cut myself again. A little bit of truffle oil. Okay, there we go.
Save your hands.
Yeah, that was scary. Yes, ma'am.
This is the new one. An oil.
God damn it, you guys. Very, very tricky. These mashed potato games are really not enjoyable. All right, God damn it. So what's happening is the moisture is leaving, which intensifies the flavor, okay? That's why we have the smaller piece of meat when we're done, right? I showed you before, right? Before and after. There's also, excuse me, pepper again. There's also that enzyme in the meat, natural enzyme that's breaking down the muscle and making it more tender, okay? There's three things present in all muscles, in all cells, okay? One of them is called glycogen. 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 Okay, glycogen. Another one is called DNA. You guys know DNA, right?
Is that the same DNA we know?
DNA you know.
Okay, then it is the same.
Okay, no, they're not the same. I said another thing. Is that the same thing? No, it's another thing because I said another thing. So there's glycogen, there's DNA, and there's RNA. Okay, you guys know those two, right? DNA and RNA? DNA is what makes us who we are, right? RNA slightly less so, but still connected to DNA. Glycogen is what gives us energy. Okay, it's what powers, it's like the gasoline. There's a fly there, I just had to punch him in the face. Don't worry, he's dead now. Glycogen is what gives our muscles energy. Okay, without glycogen, we'd just be, well, like a lot of you some mornings, right? You're sitting there in your chair, teacher.
Like a jelly.
Yeah, like sometimes you guys, right? I've seen you in class before, right? So sometimes you guys are sitting there, male glycogen, okay? So these three things, they're considered what we call large molecules, okay? They're very big, but they have very little flavor, okay? But as you age beef, the time, the oxygen, and the enzymes break down the glycogen, the DNA, and the RNA. They shatter them. Do you guys remember Avengers?
Yeah.
Infinity Wars?
Yeah.
Do you remember the time stone? It's shattered, right? Yeah, so that's what we're essentially shattering the time stones of beef. Okay?
Okay.
So once we can destroy those molecules of glycogen. Do you need something, Elizabeth? Do we have a spoon? Here. There's some olives in there too, okay? You want some asparagus? Yeah, of course. Why not, huh? Did you get some beef?
Yeah, ready.
Okay. So once we can break those molecules of glycogen, DNA, and RNA into smaller pieces, they concentrate and their flavor becomes what we're tasting in that beef. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys? All right. So that's how we end up with going from regular beef, which has just like a very mild beef flavor, to that much stronger, much more condensed meat and texture and taste of the dry aged beef. But keep in mind, so again, like we did that steak for what, 28 days, right? But we lost about 50%, right? So when we put the beef in the ager, it probably weighed about 3 kilograms each piece, each half piece, okay? So like the half piece we have there, that probably weighed about 3 kilograms each. So in total, about 6 kilograms. So if we put a 6 kilogram piece of beef into the aging room, by the time we take it out and trim it, we now only have 3 kilograms of beef. So that's a 50% loss, right? Now, if you want to work out the cost of that, because that translates to cost for the customer, right? As a business, you can't pay for that, right? If you buy 6 kilos of beef and then sell it at the same price now that with 3 kilos, you're going to go out of business. I'll be your best customer. Right, I'll be there at lunch, dinner, breakfast, I'll be there twice at dinner because I'll be like, oh yeah, I want another steak. They're like, how can you eat so much? I'm like, I don't care, I'll throw it in the garbage. It's so cheap, I can't not buy it. So in order to figure out that cost, right, you have to take your starting cost. Let's keep it simple, okay? Let's say that ribeye costs us $25 US, okay? $25 for 1 kilogram, okay? How much does it now cost me for a kilogram after we age it, trim it, and cut it per kilo? Yeah, let's just say 50, well, it's 50% loss, right? So we just double the price, right? So think about that, right? You pay 25 for it, and now after all that, it's cost you 50 NT. That's just your food cost. No labor, no electricity, right? Profit. Well, profit's after, right? Profit, you have to determine the profit after you've costed it, right? But think about that, right? 50% increase just from aging it, okay? So when you do these things, you have to sort of evaluate, like, are my clients going to pay that much, right? A lot of, like, Taiwanese or whatever, for them, that's like 2,000 NT for a steak. They're like, you can go to hell, sir, right? They're going to go to hot steak, right? They're going to have 2 hot steaks. They're going to be like, ha, I got 2 hot steaks for the price of 10 of your, or you know what I mean? So you have to evaluate really, like, is it worth it, right? And then maybe it is worth it, but maybe not 28 days, right? Maybe 14, so you have maybe only 25% loss, right? But you still get some of the benefits, right? You can still market it and say it's dry aged, right? You can't really say, oh, we have dry aged beef and then not dry age it, right? Customers are going to be like, wait a minute. This is pretty big for a dry, like how big was the cow you got this from? Right? It doesn't add up, right? And nowadays, customers are very savvy. Do you know the term savvy? Intelligent. Savvy means intelligent, but not in a way like 10 plus 10 is 20, I'm intelligent. We landed on the moon. Okay, not like Owen smart. I mean savvy like they know, common sense, right? If someone says, oh, this is a 1-month-old steak, but it's really big, you're going to say, wait a minute. How can it be this big? Like, that doesn't make sense, right? So you have to be a little bit careful, right? So you can do some trial runs, right? You experiment a bit. How much does it cost after 14 days? And what's the taste like? After 21 days, what's the taste like? How much does it cost? And then figure out with your clients, right? Your target market, are they going to accept that price, right? And so it's a little bit of trial and error, right? Or testing. Anyways, that's it for today. Couple things. Remember the dates I told you about, right? 29 and 1, right? Back-to-back classes. We're going to do salmon. So we're going to make salmon gravlax and hot smoked salmon. And then also next week is your midterm exam. Your midterm exam is online. Technology, dog. Yeah, it's 2020, homie.